welcome. And I'm Deepmala, city leader from Bengaluru DueDash. With me, I have my co-host, Mr. Prakash and Michael. Mr. Prakash is also a startup leader, Bengaluru DueDash. And we are here to host a webinar on behalf of DueDash. We are here to discuss and share insights on a very crucial topic today for startup ecosystem, that is the essential guide to startup investments. First of all, I would like to thank all our expert panelists for participating and giving their valuable time to encourage all startups. And I'm sure it would benefit all early stage budding entrepreneurs to grow and scale the right way. Before we start, I'd like to invite Michael, co-founder and community builder at DueDash, to give you all a short intro on this amazing community platform for startups. Over to you, Michael.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Deepmala. Let me just share my screen so you can also see. I'm going to just talk about quickly, just a bit on DueDash. So yeah, great to have you all here today for the kickoff session of DueDash Bengaluru. So we're happy to have you here, and I'm just going to talk quickly, just a couple of things to understand what is DueDash, what it's all about, and why are we here. So what is the biggest challenge for most entrepreneurs nowadays? It is the access to capital and investors. Less than 1% of startups ever raise any funding. And many startups are challenged by not understanding the process, who to reach out to, how can I actually get to investment, what's the next step I need to do. That was the purpose or the reason why we started with DueDash. So what do? So with DueDash, we help startups to become investable and receive funding. On our community platform, you can learn how to fundraise through free education and success stories from other startups. You're able to make your business investor ready through expert feedback from us, but also other experts, such as, let's say you want to improve your pitch deck or your pitch deck. Then also investors will be able to notice you through our global community when you share your pitches, when you participate in our pitching events and more. So this is very short what the community is all about to really help you. Right now, you can do multiple things on DueDash. You can validate your business ideas, you can join different events, you can find co-founders, new team members. You can assess your investability by giving us your pitch deck and other things. And we also have a couple of more paid services. Let's say if you're an accelerator program or you want more in-depth support when it comes to fundraising. At the moment, one thing for any founder here, any startup, I can recommend, if you want to get a feedback on your pitch deck, we can do this. Just write me a text or send me a message to pitch@duedash.network so we can have a review and show you, hey, that's where we need to work on. These are the areas you might need to improve when it comes to going to an investor. And also, if you submit your pitch, we will reach out to you when we organize our next pitching events. We also have a more in-depth analysis. Let's say if you want to do like a complete investment readiness check, you want to know all the different aspects where we look at your team, your traction, KPIs, if you're ready for investors. And you can also claim up to 25,000 USD in startup credits. Then last thing I just wanted to add here, we have also regional groups. Our founder sparing rings, DueDash Bengaluru, is part of the India founder sparing ring on DueDash. So a local group where you can exchange with other people in Bengaluru, in India, get to meet them, exchange, meet the right experts, and take your business to the next level. If you are interested in supporting your local community, reach out to me and happy to talk about that. Yeah, with that, looking forward to this great event. If you have more questions, join DueDash. The community is under community.duedash.com. You can reach out to me, or of course, your local city leaders, Deepmala and Prakash. And with that, back to you, Deepmala.
Thank you, Michael. Well, as we all know, what is required in startup world, that before your company reaches the stage of investment, it's important to build your business the right way. And that is exactly what the startups can expect as a takeaway from this interactive session. This discussion by experts in different fields of a startup ecosystem would be a rundown on how to find, cultivate, and build the most important skills in your business. Would request the attendees to type in the question in the chat box, if any, during our discussion, and we will take it at the end. Okay. So let me quickly introduce you one by one to our expert panelists here. First of all, we have Rashi Khanna, founder, honorary chair, and empath at Rawai Rashi Foundation, who is a seasoned business professional with over 20 years of experience, both in corporate as well as entrepreneur. She's a woman leader, change enabler, and growth strategist. Welcome, Rashi. Next, we have
Deepmala.
Hi, welcome, Rashi. Next, we have Shrey Sao, a certified CFA who is passionate about value investing and comes with a decade of rich experience. He has been an integral part of a fintech startup that has scaled rapidly in a span of last 5 years to create measurable business impact. He's into startup mentoring, putting all his skills that include applying strategies of Lord Krishna, Chanakya, and Sun Tzu to application in helping startups build a sustainable and scalable business foundation with right strategy, leadership, and organizational structure. I welcome you, Shrey.
Thank you, Deepmala. Hi, everyone.
Next, we have Nitya Agarwal, an investment associate at 314 Capital, which is an early stage VC fund based out of Bengaluru. Prior to joining 314, she has worked with Gartner as a part of their CIO advisory and consulting team. She has completed her bachelor's with honors in commerce from the University of Delhi and is a CIMA qualified professional. Welcome, Nitya.
Thanks, Deepmala.
And lastly, we have Maya Shinoy, founder of Creative Code, a creative agency based out of Bengaluru. Her role predominantly revolves around the business development of her company. She has had the opportunity to interact and offer creative solutions to brands across the world in the last 9 years. We welcome you, Maya.
Thank you, Deepmala. Hello, everyone.
Okay, so without taking much time, let's jump on to the interesting discussion which we all have been waiting for. I'd quickly put over to the mentor and investors, Shrey and Nitya, a very first set of questions about startup investment. My first question is to Shrey. What are the essentials needed for a startup to be investable? Over to you, Shrey.
Okay. Thank you for the question, Deepmala. So the first and foremost thing that a startup needs to be investable is to start a business without thinking of the fact that it's not being built for investment, but being built for a larger purpose, which is to serve, which has to be beyond money. It has to be beyond wealth. It has to have something much more concrete than just raising funds. If one builds startup over a period in time, which with the right foundations, with the right people, over a period in time, automatically it would be ready for funding. It's also another point that I would want to add to this is quite a lot of startups think about having a co-founder in place. I think it comes because we have a culture like that, because we've seen investors trust startups that have co-founders. I would rather say a founding team which shares a core set of values and is driven by a purpose larger than wealth, larger than creating money, but actually serving or creating a real measurable impact is what is important. So what I would say is, when you're building a startup, it's really important that you focus on building a purposeful business rather than one that you're preparing just to mint money or just to raise funds. And secondly, instead of just going out for co-founders, it would really make a lot of sense to invest time in building a core concrete founding team that can scale your business. Because once, say, if your idea scales up and you get the demand that you've been expecting, you also need to have the supply side balanced, where you have the right team that can cater to the demand side of the equation. Hence, I would say that is the key when it comes to starting a startup. Those are my thoughts. Please let me know your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Shrey. The same question for you, Nitya. Would like to have your insights on what are the essentials needed for a startup to be investable.
I think I completely agree with Shrey when he says that you essentially need a team that's chasing a vision like a madman, I would say, right? And I think, in my opinion, what really makes a startup investable is solving for a real problem, going after outcomes, and not chasing money, in my opinion. And I'm sure you would hear a lot of investors say that now, that the money will always follow, as long as you're able to get to the core of the problem and get to a product market fit. And I think there's a lot of chatter about getting to a product market fit early on. I feel it's okay if it takes a while, but as long as you're going after the core problem that deserves to be solved, it's worth holding on to and it's worth building for.
Okay. Uh, Great having insights from you experts. I would require more questions to be answered on this topic. Let me just quickly take some questions for the entrepreneurs as well. So my next question is to Rashi and Maya. First of all, Rashi. So Rashi, what were the key challenges in starting up on your own and how did you overcome them? If you want to list down a few things.
So, hello everyone, and thank you so much, DueDash and Deepmala and everyone who organized this. And see, we have to understand one thing. There is no shortcut to any place worth going. So that has to sink in. So challenges is something which will actually give you a purpose. It's how you think. But just understanding that you have to do this doesn't solve. Everybody knows what they want, but having a purpose and a passion. So when I started with Rabbi Rashi Foundation, so we are an NGO and we are into completely social activities. So anybody listening to that you're an NGO would think, ye to bas sabko khana khilate honge. They're just feeding people. That's what you think of an NGO. So when I spoke at home that I want to start my own NGO and I have been into advertising, and so first thing my husband said that you have a big family of 85 people. Aren't you happy feeding them? So I told them, no, that's not what I want to do. So my background from the Ministry of MSME, so I've worked with a lot of small businesses. So first thing that I wanted to do that, let's have a platform where we can actually connect the buyers and the sellers. So we are from the advertising background and my husband told me, कि ये तो एक advertising agency करती है, तुम क्यों करना चाहती हो? Why you want to do this? I said, I want to do this because I want to give away to the society by connecting people without any commissions and without any money. So that was the whole purpose and that is what we do. That is what Rabbi Rashi is all about. So we are first class empaths. I am an empath. And I want to give away not just by feeding. So my question, but what am I going to feed to people? So the biggest challenge was convincing people at home. And today they are the one who, they go around telling people, no, she's my wife, Rabbi Rashi Foundation. Rashi is my wife. So that is what I have actually achieved in last, I think it's been 9 months that we are here. And one single line that I understand is that it's not going to be easy, yes, but if you're sure of it, it'll happen. This is what I get. Thank you.
That's wonderful, Rashi. Thank you for your insights. I'm sure people would appreciate and gain a lot of insights from this and follow a few of the things as a takeaway. Same question for you, Maya. How did you overcome the initial challenges of starting up on your own and what were they, if you want to list a few?
So first of all, Deepmala and Prakash, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this panel discussion. So Creative Code I started in 2011, when I think animation and video production, it didn't have much scope back then. So a lot of people back then didn't know the importance of having a video, as a part of their business promotional activity. It was very difficult to convince them to have a video, to reach out to the audience. So I feel, to be it any industry or for a brand, the start is not, it's not the start that is challenging, but I feel creating the brand presence, that is very important. So for us, that is where, it was a little challenging for me, especially because having a creative team and a group of skill set people is all there, on one side, but then having a good portfolio, a strong portfolio, that is something which we had to build from the scratch and convince our clients and make sure, so how we overcame this is because we kind of started having a unique identity. We started following the current trend. And then we went ahead and, we started working with the small time, like event managers and agencies, and not directly the client. And then we finally, once we had the strong portfolio, we went ahead and we started reaching out to the brands. In fact, they started reaching out to us. So the main challenge was to go ahead and make the brand presence and make ourselves felt. So that was the key challenge for us.
That actually answers my next question, which I would actually omit because you've already answered. Thank you. Thank you so much, Maya. Another question for Shrey. So Shrey, what advice would you give to startup stage founders when it comes to building a brand and something that would last? I'm sure this is one of your favorite questions.
Yes, I hope I'm audible. Yeah. Hi.
Yes.
Thank you for the question. It is indeed one of my favorite questions. So I firmly believe that, something has to be self-sustaining and scalable before it actually goes out and does thing. To pull a line out of a Hindi movie that you would not actually connect to the startup world in the usual way is a wiki donor when the Dadi says to I mean, the Chacha asked the Dadi that, uh, मुझे respect क्यों नहीं देते हो? So he says, or he let me translate it. It's actually the man who asks his mother that, why don't you respect me? So the mother says, I'll respect you only when you deserve respect. So you got to deserve it before you grow is what I believe in, and a startup needs to be sustainable and scalable. When I say sustainable and scalable, quite a lot of people get carried away by the fact that, I got to create wealth, like I said, and I just want to do something for the heck of doing. Or some people genuinely have a great idea and go ahead and actually implement the idea. But when you're running a startup, it's not a one-man show that you're running. It is all about having the kind of people that you would want in a startup. So it's all about getting the right people on the bus first. When I say the right people on the bus, what I mean is the people who would be as driven as you are, would share the values that you have. Look, skills can be taught, attitude cannot be taught. By that, I do not mean that if you find someone who's committed but does not have even the basic understanding of things to uh, come on board, I would rather suggest that you pick someone whose skill sets are green, they are not sharpened, you can always hone them. People need to have the right attitude is what you need to get first. So once you have your founding team together, only then should you go out and figure out what you need to do, what kind of an impact you want to create. So when I say what kind of an impact you want to create, there are a plethora of things that you can do in the world, from starting an eatery to starting a B2B business, or maybe a network business, which is a lot in fancy these days, like an Ola or an Uber or Make My Trip or Book My Show. Look, to create anything, you need the right people first, and then you go out and figure out what the idea needs to be. Once you have figured out the business idea, when you're figuring out the business idea, you need to make sure, if you want to really succeed and if you want to have a startup that's really successful, you need to come up with an idea where you are creating value at least 10 times that of a potential substitute that you're substituting. Or if you're creating a cost competitive business, it's all about being as cost sensitive as possible. So in the first case, it's all about, if you're familiar, I'm sure all of you are familiar with accounting. If we are talking about a business which is more to do with competitive advantage in terms of uh, an advantage in edge, it's all about gross margin, and it's all about being asset light. So your gross margin really needs to be fat, and it needs to be fat compared to your competitor. It has to benefit your customer at least 10 times better than any possible substitute can. And when we are talking about cost centric businesses, where you're talking about cost leaders, it's all about operating cost as a percentage of sale. Now, to just give you an idea, 25 to 27% operating cost as a percentage of sale in Indian markets is what is considered good. If you're getting around 20, you are damn good. If you're getting below 15, you're excellent. Boss, if you're getting below 10 and you're not in uh, businesses of retailing or any kind of retailing, if you're running a business which is not retailing oriented and you're going to that level, then you are phenomenal. So that is about the idea part. Then comes execution, which is the last part of thing. Quite a lot of people, when they get into the startup world, they start acting. Pascal said one thing, that the greatest misery in life is because we as humans can't hold ourselves stationary at one place. We can't sit in one room. So I don't mean to say that action is not required. Action is everything, karma is everything, but ultimately it's about having the right people, then the right thought, and only once you have those in place should you go ahead and execute at a scale. Till you have that in the right place, I would always suggest that you beta test to get your product ready for the market. So that's about it. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Well, I have a different question for Nitya, but before that, Nitya, would you want to give some insights on the same question?
No, I think I echo with Shrey here again, but and so I think he's covered most of it. But one of the things that I would say about now building a sustainable brand now in the ecosystem is actually a fairly exciting game to play. But from some of the things that we see on ground, there are very key fundamentals that are overlooked early on. So I would say spending time in understanding who you're going after, who your target audience is, what that demographic it is, and what they're looking to achieve is essentially is key in making a brand and delivering a brand value that lasts, right? And of course, right, the whole fundamental of building a brand is also to solve for attention, in my opinion. Echo a brand engagement, and I think if you're doing that right from day zero and day one, there is a lot more pitfalls that one can avoid.
Okay. Then my question, which is very crucial, I'm sure many of our attendees are waiting for that question is, what's the right strategy to get funding closed? Over to you, Nitya.
So there is no right or wrong strategy, I would say, to get a funding round closed. However, one of these, again, few of the things that I would say here is to have everything down to the last detail documented. So whether that's your incorporation documents, whether that's your financials, having very basic hygiene in place is extremely important. So that's where I would start, right? So a lot of times where things also honestly fall apart in diligences and so on is when these things don't align. So if you're starting a business today, or if you're early in your journey, work with the right set of experts, right? Do not wait to raise funding, do not wait to cut costs, right? So one of the things that I usually tell the founders that I work with is, if you've grown beyond 20, have someone to do accounts for you, have someone to take on hiring for you. So those things I think become very, very, very important. With respect to getting a funding round closed, I would break this process down for you with respect to approaching the fundraise, during the fundraise, and post receiving a term sheet, right? So while in the first phase, right, when you're approaching investors, know the whys and hows of your story, know the market, know the product, and more importantly, don't shy away from competition, right? There's always going to be competition, and healthy competition is good competition. So address all of those and stand out. And even if you're not able to stand out, there is, of course, as investors, everyone realizes that in most markets there's room for more than one player to exist. During the fundraise, I think there are one of the things that I think that really helps founders who succeed in working very efficiently in closing funding rounds is being proactive, right, and being on top of information that's needed. So different investors work very, very differently. Every investor has a very different investing style. And hence, of course, the kind of questions that you would hear from different investors would be very different. Staying on top of the kind of information that's needed, maintaining a tracker, a log of what was asked, and consistently incorporating that in your pitch and in your data rooms makes it very, very easy for the other investors to work with, for them to work with you. During the term sheet stage, I would say again, work with someone who's worked with a company of your size, scale, and preferably similar investors before. Otherwise, a lot of times, you can get the most experienced person to do this for you, or you can get your best friend to do it for you. But until and unless you're not working with and this is again adding to Shrey's point, right? Building a right team and getting a right talent network, I would say, I would expand that to having the right talent network at the core of it is very, very important. And I think those would be my 2 cents on the best strategy to raise and to close a funding round.
Great. Well, that was insightful for me as well. I am being a founder of a startup myself. So yeah, thank you for your insights, Nitya. And Shrey, of course. Now my question to Rashi would revolve somewhere around similar track. So Rashi, what advice would you give to startup stage founders when it comes to building a brand from an entrepreneur's viewpoint?
See, when Deepmala, when I was born, so one Pandit, told my parents that she will only live for 44 years. So I'm 45 and he's no more there today, right? So understand, somebody predicting something for a brand. Now I'm a brand. I call myself a brand, because I have a story. I have been a brand manager for, I think, good 15 years, working with different advertising agencies, and selling outdoor media, telling people, build a brand, build a brand. We all have 2 lives. First, the second one starts when we are over with the first one. So while I was, I try to understand what I'm trying to say, because this story will make you understand that what is a brand. Why I'm a brand? Because I speak in a way, I live in a way, I convince in a way, and I give away those, passions and those stories which no one else can do. So that is what your brand does for you. If you have a product, if you have a particular kind of a service for the industry, for the public, you have to first relate with your product and the service. You just cannot go around selling things or telling people to use that service because you have a service. That's what most of the brands make a mistake at. Because you are selling a shampoo, so everybody's supposed to use it. No, why? I don't use a shampoo, I use a soap. But why and how effective? Only a brand can speak for a second brand. Please understand, this is very important. When I built Rabbi Rashi Foundation, everybody told me, iska naam suno rakho, iska naam Shakti rakho, call it any Hindi name, Pavitrata, Shivji, I don't know what all names came to me, ki ye rakho. So I said, no, I will keep it Rabbi Rashi because I believe in Rabbi Rashi. It is sun provided to the world by Rashi. I am a brand. And today, I think there are so many NGOs around who have these kind of Indian names. I mean, with due respect to them, of course, that's their vision. But my vision is because Rashi is all about money. The sun is providing light to you. If light comes to you, money will come. That is what we gave away to thousands of people who we talk to, our connections worldwide. All those people, all those SMEs and MSMEs who come to us, we connect them. I don't know whether they, whether they are getting that kind of money from the market. Maybe we are not a digital advertising or an advertising agency, but yes, they connect and they are happy speaking about the product. So when they speak with us and we speak about them, I think it's a great way to tell people that, hey, hello, come and use them, So we've started, and I think I'm very passionate about it. So this is what I understand, I mean, if you're a brand, your service will be a brand. That's the keyword.
Thank you. That's pretty insightful, Rashi. And it's beautiful, actually. Next interesting question for Maya is how to position product or service in the market, considering the fact that the competitor might be funded before you. I am sure many startups would be eager to hear this, and they are facing this challenge in the startup ecosystem. Over to you,
Yeah.
Maya.
So what I feel is, so there's no doubt that funding is a huge denominator on which the brands are being built. But I feel that is not the only factor. So there are many more other factors that we can consider here. For example, like personally for me, I feel that, having a very meaningful and respectable relationship with the clients, that's one thing, and also I feel that, any people hold honesty, transparency. There's a huge regards for that as well. So I feel that it's okay if you're not like considering funding to begin with, but these are certain factors which I feel you should focus more on. So
Okay.
yeah. So in short, I believe that when there is a fine balance between all of these core ideologies, then a product or a service or a brand will have a firm footing.
Have you ever faced any such challenge from a competitor where you might have felt that, okay, or like I can say, fear of missing out? Has it ever happened? Any competitor?
Yes, it has. So it's a part and parcel, right? So you can't expect all the work, to come to you. So there have been instances where, we have had to let go of certain projects, or it has been given to some companies who are, funded. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of work, there's a lot of competition, and whatever has to come to you, it will come to you. So I feel that, having a lot of patience here is very important, and just wait, and it'll happen. Just give it your best, I feel, and good things will come to you.
Great. I will, with that, I will take one question out of our attendees, which is related to this. So I'm continuing with you. From Shivank QuickBiz, he says he would like to know what should be the strategy for next generation solution post pandemic, especially now when the enterprises have realized the need of digitization. Digitization. If you could put some light on that, Maya.
Deepmala, I missed you there.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
So Shivank is asking, what should be strategy for next generation solution post pandemic, especially when the enterprises have realized that there is a need of digitization, and how do you kill the competition or thrive along with it?
So honestly, I think pandemic hasn't really affected our business like the way I thought it will. I think video is the next thing. Digitization is the next thing. So if you actually observe, businesses are slowly bouncing back, and they want to go out there and make their presence felt. So I feel that video is the next thing, and everybody out there have to communicate, have to get on track with their messaging. So I think that's what is going to be the next the way forward.
Okay. I hope the question is answered, Shivank. Now the question from Murlidhar for Nitya particularly. Can you please advise on how to meet an investor whom you aspire to meet, and what would be the ideal sales pitch once you have discovered the investor?
So I think once you've decided who you want to pitch to, most funds today are, and angel investors and other sorts of investors are fairly approachable on their LinkedIn's and their Twitters of the world. So cold emails, beautifully crafted cold emails, work like magic even today, and I think that's a good start. So to address the first question, how do you approach someone? I think crafting a good cold outreach email, or trying to find a warm introduction. Those are the two ways that work beautifully. With respect to what does it take to craft an excellent sales pitch? So I think we covered this early on, right, when we were discussing what makes a startup investable? I think we can borrow a lot of the fundamentals from there, right? So a compelling narrative, a product market fit, and again, echoing what Shrey said, like a sound business mentality. I think if you're able to bring that out in your pitch, I think you're set up for success.
Great. So I think there is a similar question, and I'm sure there'll be many such questions, but the answers remain the same, which you've been speaking. And so Murli, I am from Innovate Solution, also had a similar question, and your answer has covered that as well. Thank you, Nitya. There is a common question which I would like to throw to all of you one by one. To Shrey, over to you. How does the business environment, how has the business environment rather changed post-pandemic, and what are the adaptations that we need to do? Because I'm sure startups are already facing a lot of challenges, and they are striving to thrive in this environment. But the challenge has become all the more, difficult after pandemic. So what's your take on it?
Thank you for the question, first of all. So, well, challenges will always be there, either this way or that way. Pandemic is just another one. And it's all about, like Sun Tzu says that, in chaos, you should be able to look at opportunity. The person who can look at opportunity in chaos is the one who thrives. And that's what makes a good war general, because he talks about war. But right now, the point is that pandemic has opened a whole new, it has added the number of people who are open to digitization. It has quadrupled them. It has maybe increased the number by 10 folds. So the addressable market has become so very large that you can easily reach out to people using digital communication. And like Maya was talking about, use of videos, it is found that pictures tend to be more effective than text, and videos tend to be more effective than the pictures. And it's all about being able to communicate with people in the right way. And like Nitya was talking about emails, when you are writing to investors from whom you want to get funding, there has to be a similar approach that you need to have with your customers. So wherever you are advertising on digital media, it has to have an action item attached to it. As in, what I mean to say is, whenever you're writing something or advertising something, either through video or through a picture or through text, it has to have the clarity that what do you want the person to do, and it has to communicate to the person in a very effective manner, in a manner that the person would understand. So communication has to be devised in a way that it is not suited for you, but is suited for the larger audience. It has to speak out loud to people, because your addressable market has become all of a sudden very large. And the mobile revolution before the pandemic actually put the phones in the hands of people, and you've got everything on your hands. I don't see it as a challenge. I see it as an opportunity to disrupt existing businesses. Need not necessarily be for someone who is coming out as a new entrepreneur, but even for existing folks who are in their business. It's all about changing your distribution strategy. Online is not a transformation per se. It is just a way of communication that has shifted from physical to online. It has happened over a period in time, but pandemic has kind of acted as a catalyst which has accelerated the whole process. So I see it as an opportunity, and the better you can devise your communication, it in fact gives you more power to do things with in a much more effective way, with lesser resources. You don't probably even need an expert if you think well enough to actually market your products or services. Obviously, experts do bring in their part of things, but it it has scaled the whole impact that you can have. So that's what I had as an answer for you.
Okay, so then I will put another direct question by Shivangi to you, Shrey. What are the methodologies for analyzing the development and testing of credit worthiness for investment projects of innovative startups?
Okay, that's a very, very thoughtful question. Look, I, I'll tell you a brief background about myself, which you just said in the beginning. I am a value investor who invests in the public listed space. Now, a lot of people think that, uh, risk reduces because you invest in large cap companies, which are ITCs, HULs of the world. I don't think so. Risk comes from the fact that you don't know something about, you don't know what you're getting into. As long as you know what you're getting into, and as long as you have done a fair analysis of whatever you're investing in, and you're sure that you're investing in something that is sustainably profitable and scalable, you should go ahead and invest in that. Having said that, in the startup ecosystem, the bet is completely on the ability of the entrepreneur to get the right people on board, to get the right idea, pick the right idea. When I say pick the right idea, the person should have the ability to screen through multiple ideas over a period in time and say that, this is not working, I move out of it and I'm going to the next idea. They should have the ability to call the shots very quickly. The bet is completely on the entrepreneur. So here you can't actually do a financial valuation per se. Here it's more about betting on the entrepreneur, on the manager, on the startup founder. And if you want to do something really well, you need to and say the business is running, maybe it's not profitable, you got to see how the core team is, and you got to check the process. Like Nitya was talking about, you need to have basic structure. I'll just narrate another story. There was this acquaintance of mine who was looking for selling a coaching business, and he approached investors for the same. And when the investors came in, they asked him, you know so what are the management structures that you have? What happens to the business when you are away? He was like, I run everything. Without me, the business is of no use. I mean, and then you know what the investor would have said. Then I think without you, the business is of no use to me. I'm not going to pay you a penny for that. You don't have systems in place. You got to have systems in place. You got to evaluate things in a manner which is subjective in an objective way. So here in the startup world, it's all about identifying the lead indicators, pretty similar to what you would do in micro cap or small cap investing if you're getting into businesses that are not profitable right now. Okay. If you're getting into profitable businesses, then you obviously have a cash flow to uh, kind of discount. Now, a lot of people would uh, contradict with that and say, you can always discount future cash flow for even a startup. I think it would be unwise to do that. It is always about it, unless you have a bird in hand, you should not count. You should not start counting till you are close to break even. You should not be evaluating in terms of the cash that is being generated. Rather, you should evaluate the business on the founder, the founding team, and the systems that are there in place once the startup gets the avalanche of business that it expects to get. So you're betting on the team, the founder, and the systems. That's about it, I think, that I have for you.
Yeah, those are very insightful tips, and I'm sure many people would be glued to the screen right now listening to all of these. The next is from Murli from Innovate Solutions. It's a second part of his question. It's to Nitya. Well, they are executing projects locally in India currently. What should be the strategy to go to US and European market in terms of investment and sales pitch?
Can you elaborate the question for me? Is this someone who's trying to take their business global?
Yes. So they are local right now and they would like to go global. So what would be the right strategy when they want to do the shift from local to US and European market in terms of sales pitch and investor approaching?
Got it. I think I would look at those two things very, very separately. I wouldn't mix the two, first of all. So selling in a market like US or Europe is very different from selling in a market like India. I would think about who your end client is in the US, what that problem statement is. Are you going after a mid market, or are you going after an enterprise? Are you going after a small business? A lot of companies set up postal offices across the globe to facilitate this. But I think and hire someone. Let's take the example of you want to sell in the US, right? So you would find someone and you're a pharma company, or in this case, you're an IT consulting company, right? So your best case scenario is to find someone who's done that in the US previously and start working with them to get clients for you on a freelancer or a full-time basis. Now coming to, but of course, all of this has now changed with digitization coming in with remote work, and so that this would have been the answer a year ago, right? But now with COVID, I see a lot of people setting up foreign sales arms and foreign GTM while sitting in India and doing it phenomenally. And again, there are two ways to doing it, right? So you take the sales-led funnel or the product-led funnel. So when you take the sales-led funnel, you're essentially putting in a sales team that's catering to a set of clients that are your, let's say, your dream clients, right? And I think how you approach to them is something that we've discussed at length today. So I will not take too much time talking about that. And the other is a product-led approach, right? So if you see what a Postman did in India, or what they could build, or if you take any SaaS company that's gone global, if you look at Freshworks, all of these companies were very, very product-led. So you let the product do the talking and sales do the execution. So those are two ways for you. Now, when it comes to raising money from investors based outside of India, especially US, they prefer companies incorporated in the US. Again, there's a lot of literature available on setting up Delaware C Corps, networking your way in through accelerators based out of your target geographies and so on. So we can go on and on about it, but again, right? So what we discuss in the business.
I think lost Nitya on connectivity. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, you are.
Then
Yes, we can hear you, Deepmala.
I think problem is with Nitya.
Yeah, Nitya is frozen.
Yes. Okay. Fine. No issues. So Nitya, we will jump over to you at the end probably. My question to entrepreneurs. There might have been times when you guys would have felt like dropping it all, and would like to know how you keep yourself motivated as an entrepreneur. I'm asking this because only a motivated leader can keep the team motivated, and you both are good examples of motivated leaders. So over to you, Maya, first.
Yeah, so there has been many instances where like probably in the initial days when we were looking for work and we wouldn't get enough work, and we had a team, we had to pay salaries, we had overheads, but I think it's all about we were hopeful and we were very confident because we had a very good portfolio, we were building it, and we somewhere knew that we will get through. So there have been instances, yes. In fact, there have been times when I remember so Creative Code is a partnership firm. It's like me and my two friends. We started off together. So we've also had to go out, and we came to a brink where we decided to quit. We went and we gave interviews elsewhere. But at the end of the day, I think we were just focusing on our work. We were building our team, and I think somewhere our talent was recognized and appreciated, and here we are today. So just I would say that whatever you're good at, just do it, give it your best, and it will be well rewarded and recognized.
Happy to know that, Maya. I've also gone through this, and I do relate with you. Although I'm yet to reach to the point where I've envisioned, but yes, this is insightful. Same to you. Same question to you, Rashi. Can you put some light on that point?
So, Deepmala, it was never me. It was all the people around me who kept telling me, "Band karo, stop it. Why are you doing this?" I think
That's
that
another
was,
question. Yeah, that's the right point.
so that was, I think, the biggest motivation for me. Why? They all kept telling me, there are hundreds of people doing the talk shows when the lockdown happened. What is so great about this? Why are you doing it? You're just simply wasting your time, you know, because see, I'm also an entrepreneur because I'm into the fashion industry. And why don't you concentrate on that and, earn some money? Why are you spending money on the Zoom? I'm spending only 1400 rupees still. That was a pinch for everyone, especially my mom. Why are you doing this? So that hit me. I will do this, because I somehow in my heart, I felt that if somebody who's calling me at 10:30 at night when the lockdown happened, that madam, मैंने आज खाना नहीं खाया है, कुछ सामान मंगाओ. So I somehow felt that he needs to come and speak on my platform and tell to the world that, look, boss, I'm not going to beg, but at least buy something from me. I'm ready to serve. So that is what hit me. And people on the other side of the world are telling me, band karo, stop this, close this. Why are you wasting money on the standee? I said, why not? I will do this. So I think that was the point. And that convinced me that if he can call me and tell me that please buy from me, then let him come on the Zoom thing and speak on his video that I sell this, boss, buy from me. That's it. That is the only motivation each day I have in the morning, that look, today I'm going to hear a new story where the person will speak about his product and I'm going to buy it. I don't know about the world, but I'm going to buy it. That's it. So that is what gets a smile to me.
Wow, nice to hear that. I'm sure people and their apprehensions are a greatest demotivator sometimes when they do not believe in you and you start believing in their disbeliefs. That happens. Okay, so I think Nitya is back online and I'd request her to complete what she was saying.
No, I'm not sure where I got dropped off. So would love for you to tell me and I can maybe take it forward from there.
You could just sum it up. We've almost heard completely.
All right, great. No, so I was saying that, so to sum it up, I think selling in a different geography versus raising money in a different geography are two different things. I wouldn't put them in the same bucket. I think we discussed the selling bit quite a bit at length. And when it comes to raising money from investors that are global, that are not based out of India, I think utilizing databases like Crunchbase to identify the right set of investors to begin with, reaching out via cold outreach, getting warm introductions are some, again, very, very basic hygienic things to do. From a company structure standpoint, some of these investors might prefer US org structures if you're trying to use specifically raise money from funds based out of the US. So there are a lot of options available today to flip to a Delaware C Corp or set up a sub in the US. So I would recommend exploring those at length and again, working with an expert to identify what works the best for you, your business, and of course, your existing investors as well, right?
Okay. Well then, just continuing to that short question, which is obviously a very common question. How is the ecosystem of VC developed over the last 12 months, especially during the pandemic, from the VC point of view?
So I think when the lockdown started to happen, we began to read a lot of speculation around how the kind of year 2020 would be. But I think especially talking about the Indian VC ecosystem, right? So I think volumes remain stable, funding remains stable. We saw, of course, right, there were category winners, EdTech being one of them. We saw a lot of money flowing there. We saw some healthy exits there. And and as the world emerges from lockdown, what we're also seeing is a very sustainable way towards investing, right? So what Shay talked about as well. So we're seeing a lot more investors think about value investing, think about sustainability of business, think about margins, and building businesses, right, that are meant to last terms. Is something that we're witnessing. We're already seeing some mega rounds happening over the last 2 months, and I'm sure that's just the start. So I think why the pandemic didn't deter the core spirit of the ecosystem, and I think 2021 will be an exciting year where we'll see, of course, like a lot of unicorns, and of course a lot of new companies coming out of India and solving global problems.
Wow. This was a very interesting discussion. I would like to take any more questions if anyone has, or vice versa. And if any of our panelists, any four of you, want to give some more insights or topics which we have missed touching upon regarding essential guide to investments for startups.
I have a quick question to all the four panelists here. I don't know which of you has been through this. Like here, I think Rashi and Maya, as well as Shrey, Nitya is still working for an organization. Okay, but I think three of you are independent and on your own. So I don't know how many. I think Rashi has mentioned earlier that she has worked on a couple of brands. She worked for organization, launched brand. Maya, I'm sorry, I don't know about your, before you became an entrepreneur, whether you're working or no, I don't know. And Shreya also, I don't know. So how was the transition from being a working professional to getting on your own? How was the transition? Because there are so many of the startup, there are so many of the entrepreneurs who are there. They have this slight challenge in the initial period, maybe a year or so. They mentally, as well as there are a lot of things as an early stage entrepreneur startup that you need to do yourself. You don't have anybody to do it because you are on a shoestring budget. So how has been the transition to each one of you who have come from this change of background, the change of scenario?
Prakash, I'll tell you what, when I started working like in 1998, started working in college. So, worked as a wedding planner, worked as an incubator. I mean, I've had various of experiences, and trust me, my only reason of switching over to being an entrepreneur was wherever I worked as an employee, I would give my 100%, but I never found a good employer. So that was my biggest reason to do my own. Secondly, I always feel a good business is never with your own money. A good business is always with either your dad's money, husband's money, or any XYZ's money, So that, why I'm saying this, because when I will put my money into my own business, I will not be able to concentrate on the work. I will all the time look at the numbers. That is where you go wrong. So when I, in 2015, started doing my fashion, so we have this chicken curry big house, which we export and, back home, and we are into this business of apparels. So I started with my mom's money, and I was never bothered whether it's the loss or what. I just did work. I just spoke to people. I just sold it. And I'm a hardcore salesperson, so I could do it. And we achieved great numbers. So when I started with Rabbi Rashi Foundation, I didn't want to put in money, but because we're an NGO, so I got funded from the whole family. The whole khandan was ready to fund me. Paise to le lo, par kar nahi paogi. So what I'm trying to tell you, that my understanding of giving my 100% to any brand and not getting even 80% on that helped me get into entrepreneurship. So that is what helped me. And today I can do boss at my own, do what I want to do, So, and I think it's a great feeling. And I think everybody should experience. But again, पहले काम करके देखो, work with different people and understand whether you are even, whether you want to do entrepreneurship. You know why, last point, I won't take a lot of time. Youngsters, what I understand, we have a lot of interns working with us. You know, what is the feeling? I'm the boss. I have my own office. I have my own computer. I have my own printer. I have one person standing next to me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is not entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is branding your own self. Entrepreneurship is playing with others' money. Please understand that. The numbers, jokes apart, it is about achieving the numbers and building your own brand. It has nothing to do with your setup. Trust me. So this is what I understand, that first work with people, then do your own. That's it.
Maya, want to add something?
Yes, yes, definitely, Prakash. So, Prakash, the thing is, I still remember. So I had borrowed some money from my mom when I had to register the company. Okay, I started this firm in one of the rooms in our house, which would become like my office when I, in the daytime. And once my partners go, it's my home. So I was just, waiting for that day when my business would grow and when I could, have an office space of my own. So that's the kind of journey. And like Rashi said, getting a good employer was very difficult when I started the company. And I did work under a couple of filmmakers, but then, as I earlier mentioned, there was not much scope for our work. And somewhere I felt that, I was not meant to work like for, that 9 to 5 time, the timing, and there was so much of creativity, so much to do, and so much we wanted to bring on the table. But when you have somebody constantly telling you to go in a certain direction where your, creativity is curbed, that's when, we decided that no, this is not. I knew that the path ahead is going to be very difficult. Where, if you are a salaried employee, you get salary, you're being told what to do, but here you have to go and get work. You have to convince the client. You have to win their confidence, which is, one very big task to take on hand. But somehow, I think, we decided to take that risk, and which was worthwhile. And at the end of the day, even now, when I go back to sleep, every night, I'm so happy that I'm doing something on my own. At the end of the day, for ourselves, when you work for yourself, that feeling is really amazing. So all I would like to tell the startups is, please have some patience. If you're really, if you're very confident and if you're dedicated and you know what you're doing is good, please have some patience and give it some time. Give it your best, and I'm sure you will get the results.
I think earlier you have to make your own coffee also.
Yes, yes, Prakash. I mean, it's not easy. It's really not easy. You will have heartbreaks. You will come across people who will demotivate you. I have come across many people. Trust me on that. But then, when you have the right team around you who will stick to you, who will motivate you, at the end of the day, I'm sure that bad phase will get over and you'll get over it. I mean, you'll get into the good phase.
Sure. Shreya, you want to add something to that?
Okay. Thank you so much for that opportunity. I am yet to make that transition, and to be honest, I enjoy my job. I really like what I'm doing, predominantly because I get full autonomy to execute things in the right way, and I have the supportive team members, be it my boss, be it anyone who they are. What I've been doing as an entrepreneur, or I mean, I'm more an investor in the public listed space. I've not started investing in the startup space, and I don't foresee doing that in the next 3 years. I've gotten myself involved in the startup space more as a mentor because, I mean, uh, I, I mean that is how I've been doing it, and with all the investing experience and the business experience that I come with, I've done entrepreneurship in the past where I've started a family business, got it up running and profitable, started it from scratch, and it was a low margin business, a commodity business, and I've done that, so I know what it takes to do that. But having said that, I'm not an entrepreneur, so I'm not qualified to answer that question. Entrepreneurs, though they are considered crazy, they have their own respect, and I mean, I appreciate, even if people fail doing it, not a problem, but at least they had the guts to go out and do it, is something that I appreciate. So that's my thing on it.
Nitya, you have anything to say?
Unfortunately, I also continue to work for an employer. I really like what I'm doing, I think. But one of the things that I've been fortunate enough to do in my career is also work with a lot of early stage entrepreneurs, help them with their 0 to 1 journey. And what I've learned as an extension of being a part of their journey is that it's never easy, but and it sometimes it feels like it's giving up is the easy way out, but there's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think echoing back to, if you get the fundamentals right with respect to what we discussed today, there is no reason that I would see one wouldn't succeed in their entrepreneurial journey.
Over to you, Deepmala.
Well, we can keep on discussing this. I'm really enjoying, and I'm sure everyone, all of us would be enjoying this. I look forward to many such more discussions coming in the future. And thanks to the panelists, host, and of course our attendees for taking out their valuable time for this event today. And any questions or any open discussions if pending, we can close it off and we can wrap it up at the end.
Yeah,
Thank you,
there seems to
Deepmala and Prakash, for organizing it.
there are no questions here at this moment posted, so we can a big thanks to each one of you, Maya Shinoy, Nitya Agarwal, Rashi, as well as Shreyas now. Thank you very much for taking your time off on a Saturday afternoon. Saturday afternoon, chaotic day, and most of you are work. That's your weekend. We snatched up your private time. Thank you.
Yeah,
No, not at all. Not at all.
So.
Thank you so much, Prakash and Deepmala, for having me on in this discussion. It was really nice, and we look forward to more such discussions.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.